Hi, my name is Marcus Hyde, and I worked with Jaquan Lewis and Professors Spoma Jovanovic and Michael Frierson on a project we called Community Organizing and Activism, Confronting Injustice in Public Spaces. I really enjoyed working on this project. We set out to explore what it meant to engage in public speech making, and in particular what it meant to use free speech in the service of making change and building a social movement. In order for democracy to survive, we need to have what Charles Tilly calls contentious conversations, or what we might call contested dialogues. History shows that the most important type of speech to protect is often the type of speech that is controversial and produces new spaces for different kinds of dialogue to occur. So that's part of what we wanted to explore in this project. This was exciting for us to pursue as students and faculty in different fields of study. We wanted to interview people involved in speech making or exercising the First Amendment and activism and organizing in Greensboro. So first we did some research on historical activism projects here in Greensboro, reading people like William Chafee and others who talked about history of activism on UNC campuses and integrating lunch counters in schools and strikes. This is great because it went beyond what a lot of people understand about the history of Greensboro, which is just the lunch counter sit-ins, but rarely do we get to talk about the context those events happened in. And we also read some more theoretical readings and talked about what we call phenomenological interviewing, which is similar to oral history, collecting oral history. So we didn't just want to learn about what happened 50 or 40 years ago, but also what are people struggling with now, and what are they doing about it? So we decided to interview local activists and organizers in Greensboro who are doing work now, exercising the First Amendment.
I'm Jaquan Lewis, the videographer/editor of the interviews that our group conducted. Throughout the course of the project, Marcus and Professor Jovanovic reached out to and interviewed the activists, while Professor Frierson and I filmed and transcribed them. We conducted the interviews in a way that allowed for the voices to be heard from many different people with many different backgrounds, passionate about many different causes. Those causes were anything from homelessness to neighborhood organizations to police accountability to immigrant rights and many more. The interesting thing, however, about the interviews is that regardless of their different causes, the one thing that they all wanted to achieve the most was change.
Our interview style was similar to phenomenological interviewing or oral histories, where we really sat down with people and let them explain in their own words the meaning behind what they do. What was really compelling to me is to hear people talk about how their own work, while it was unique to their own specific context, each of these activists talked about some common threads in their stories, like the need to trust the people that they were working with as activists and organizers, but also how, as organizers, they were dependent on being in conversation with other people. It wasn't just about their own speech, but having a dialogue with their constituents and with people in power. Also, a lot of these organizers expressed across the spectrum of issues the necessity for organizers, like how activists and organizers are these rare breeds of people. But really, what would happen if people didn't organize or engage in civic conversation? If people didn't exercise their First Amendment? And the more we began to think about organizing work, each project is unique and really dependent on the specific facts of each situation. But conversation and dialogue are how people create meaning in social movement. And it's how we create meaning as individuals and as a community. So we did a project on using your First Amendment rights, being in dialogue with others, and we hope it advances the conversation moving forward. Thanks.